Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
The big news is this week that Donald Trump looks like he's making peace with Russia and putting an end to the Ukraine proxy war that has cost U.S. taxpayers well over $100 billion and cost Ukraine its future and hundreds of thousands of people. And looks like Trump is bucking the establishment, the bipartisan establishment, and putting this to an end. So how are Democrats, the ones who have been pushing this policy of using Ukraine for a proxy war against Russia, who were behind the 2014 Maddow coup that triggered this conflict that has ensued ever since, how are they handling Trump's embrace of peace and diplomacy? Well, let's check in. This is Senator...
What problem? Do you believe...
This is Senator Ruben Gallego speaking to MSNBC. Ruben Gallego, excuse me.
Yes, but what problem? Do you believe that Vladimir Putin will stop at Ukraine? If the Americans, if Donald Trump gives Vladimir Putin what he would like, allows him to keep the territory that he has stolen, essentially, from the Ukrainian people, will he stop there?
The history of Russia, whether it's communist Russia, Tsarist Russia, whatever the heck Putin is always to expand, always to try to get more and more and try to conquer more and more, especially anything that they consider their former territory. But, you know, Russia is a weak country. And for some reason, this president is just enamored with the idea of Russia being this strong country. Russia historically has lost almost all of their wars, especially all the wars of expansion. And we need to give and empower Ukraine the ability for them to actually absolutely destroy Russia. Because destroying Russia means that the rest of Western Europe is secure too.
Yes, but...
So there we go. Senator Ruben Gallego, he wants us to destroy Russia.
Isn't NATO enough protection for NATO? I thought the purpose of NATO was that if you attack NATO, then NATO will come to the rescue. Not that you have to defend countries that are not in NATO, because God forbid they could next attack NATO.
Yeah, and like, you know, he's forgetting that, yeah, listen, the Soviet Union lost a lot of people in the Second World War, but they also helped defeat the Nazis. And is he upset that Russia didn't lose that
I'm sure
war?
he thinks they are the Nazis.
Yeah, well,
most of these people think that.
They do.
They just throw Hitler around and you're like, wow, you don't know any history.
Even as they're, of course, arming the actual Nazis inside Ukraine, who openly wear Nazi insignia and celebrate Hitler's birthday. Yeah.
I don't want to ever hear about Nazis here ever again after you gave, and by the way, it's probably about 300 billion, because I thought Zelensky, well, how much did he admit to losing? That they just don't know where it is?
Well, he said it was about 150 billion, and he said he didn't know where half of it went. So by his account, it's about 75 billion that's missing. But I agree with you.
Go ahead and double it. Carlito's Way rules. You just double it, you know? How much is Sasso missing from the club? Just double it for his gambling.
Here is Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
You know, he's flagrantly lying. And the worst thing is that not just that a president of the United States is lying about something where he's obviously lying, but that his lies track perfectly with the talking points of Vladimir Putin.
Oh, no.
So if you go back to, remember Trump Russia? The Mueller report said there was Trump Russia. Bipartisan Senate intelligence report said there was Trump.
What? I'm sorry, what did the Mueller report say?
The Mueller report said there was Trump Russia. You notice how he's not saying Trump Russia collusion? That was the key word that they said every single day, nonstop, for more than 2 years.
Well, your brain should be filling it in now.
Exactly. So, but he can't say collusion anymore because he knows that actually there was no collusion.
It's now like crossing state lines. The same different, you know? He crossed state lines. And you're like, what? Is that a crime? What do you mean? And when Mueller report came out, it was nothing, right? And then they had to go, well, it didn't exonerate Trump.
That was the best they could do. He's not exonerated. Right. And even there, that was not exonerated for obstruction, for obstructing the probe into the conspiracy theory that he was a Russian asset. So yes, he was not exonerated on that according to Mueller, but that was that was a term with no legal meaning. Like either you're guilty or you're not. It's not about whether you're exonerated. And that was about obstruction, not about the core issue, which now he wants to forget, which is collusion with Russia.
I only say collusion theory from now. I don't say conspiracy theories. I believe in collusion theories.
Russia, repeated trials brought in evidence showing there was Trump Russia. There was, is, and ever shall be Trump Russia. This is Trump Russia rearing its ugly head again.
What is that?
And I think a lot of my colleagues on the Republican side are going to be pushing back hard behind the scenes on the White House in the days ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure the Republicans are going to be motivated to push back on Trump if you keep claiming that Trump Russia is a thing.
Why did he say that 3 times? He goes, Trump Russia, Trump Russia, Trump Russia. Like, is that a phrase that that's supposed to be sticky, as they say?
Because again, they can't say collusion anymore. So they just want you to associate in your mind Trump Russia and think about collusion without them having to say it. Because they know when they say it out loud, it sounds like they're insane, because they are. Because this was their dominant conspiracy theory for more than 2 years.
All I'm thinking of is him as that guy Tim from that fashion reality show. He looks just like him. There's a lot of Sturman drawing in here. He seems like that. People colored glasses frames, you can't trust them. I don't know what it is. But you tell me someone trustworthy with colored glasses frames.
Fair enough. Okay, let's go to Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut.
Yeah, there's no separation between the Kremlin and the White House right now. The White House
They're not even the ocean?
full-time Kremlin propaganda operation, the way in which they have blamed Ukraine for starting the war, blaming the continuation of the war on Zelensky, calling him a dictator. This is music to the ears of Russia, who I think knows that it is probably months away from being able to own and control most and eventually all of Ukraine. It's a devastating moment for the free world, and I just think that the White House are fools if they believe that Putin will stop there. He is going to see a green light to continue to use force to expand Russia's borders, and eventually I think there's a real probability that American troops are going to have to fight abroad to protect the global world order and our allies and perhaps American sovereignty itself.
So we couldn't hear the let me play the last 5 seconds because it's so ridiculous.
Abroad to protect the global world order and our allies and perhaps American sovereignty itself.
So global world order, they always got to slip that in. The Alex Jones phrase, which Alex Jones did not invent. I remember George H.W. talk about the new world order. And then they go the post-World War II order. And then the rules-based post-World War II order. The same crap every time.
It's just so pathetic. This is all they have. They've spent all this money. They've funneled all this weaponry into Ukraine. What do they have to show for it? Russia has taken about 20% of Ukraine's territory. By the way, which debunks his claim that if we stop this war, Putin's going to go on to some other country, because it's taken Russia 3 years to take this 20% of Ukraine, which is right on its border. And now we expect them to go around and just, okay, let's go invade somebody else now that we've done this.
Well, that's what we would do.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And this idea that if we don't keep sacrificing young Ukrainians, lower class Ukrainians, by the way, because wealthier people can bribe their way out of conscription and being kidnapped into conscription, then we're going to have to send U.S. troops over there. It's so desperate and pathetic. And the cost, as always, is borne by Ukrainians.
What's the average? Okay, because it was like a year ago we were reporting on this. The average age of the infantry was like 50. The last time I checked, what are they now?
It was up there. It was in the 40s. Yeah, it was in the 40s. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why the U.S. recently pressured Ukraine to lower their conscription age to 18 from 25, which Ukraine had already lowered under U.S. orders. It was previously 27. So it went from 27 to 25, and then both Biden and the Trump administration initially were telling Zelensky lower it to 18, which for the first time he actually resisted the U.S. and didn't obey their order, thankfully, sparing the lives of these young people. But still, he's sacrificing hundreds of thousands of his own people for what? For what? So Russia can continue to take more territory. And that's what Chris Murphy continues to want to do. And let's do a flashback. Chris Murphy has been involved in this Ukraine proxy war project from the start. Back in 2014, when there was a coup in which the U.S. backed the overthrow of a government that was pledging neutrality, aka not to join NATO. Right. So that's why the U.S. backed his overthrow. Chris Murphy was there on the ground, and he openly took credit for regime change. This is back from February 2014.
I will admit to you that I have not been involved in what's happening in Venezuela over the last week, because I've been focused as the chairman of the Europe subcommittee on Ukraine. But with respect to Ukraine, we have not sat on the sidelines. We have been very much involved. Members of the Senate who have been there, members of the State Department who have been on the square. The Obama administration passed sanctions. The Senate was prepared to pass its own set of sanctions. And as I said, I really think that that the clear position of the United States has in part been what has helped lead to this change in regime. So I know that there is merit in the claim that the United States sort of has these principles and then we selectively apply them. We get involved in certain places and then we don't get involved in other places. But I think if ultimately this is a peaceful transition to a new government in Ukraine, it'll be the United States on the streets of Ukraine who will be seen as a great friend in helping make that transition happen.
Buddy is from McLean, Virginia.
So you hear that? He's openly taking credit for regime change, which set off this entire thing.
Well, it sounded like he was answering a question. I don't know what the question that was asked, but were they like, why weren't you doing enough regime change in Venezuela? It sounded like he goes like, well, I was
busy in Ukraine.
Yeah,
I can't do regime change in two places.
We'd love to be doing regime change everywhere, but I can only do what I can do.
Yeah. I'm swamped. Okay. I'm swamped. I'm really busy right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. They all took credit for it. And then, they just say the things and then you're supposed to forget they said it. And then they'll be like, I never said that. When you play a video of them saying that, that's cherry picked.
All right. So listen, we're hearing a somber mood right now from congressional Democrats. It's not a good time for them. The possibility of peace in Ukraine than, it's tough. So we need some optimism. We need someone to rally us, to lift our spirits. So who better to rally us than the Blue Anon shaman herself, the queen of Russiagate, Rachel Maddow.
Oh, good.
The political reality of this administration is going to be shaped by whether or not the people who oppose him strongly enough and effectively enough. The political reality of this administration and this presidency will be determined by whether the people who voted for him are horrified enough by what they have wrought that they regret it and are willing to act differently and to speak out about their regret.
What haveth I wrought?
Peace in Ukraine. What have I done? What have I done? Who am I?
I'm waiting for those Biden. Remember they had that for George W. Bush, where it'd be like, miss me? Like, right when Obama, I'm waiting for those of Biden.
The reality of this presidency and this administration will be determined in some part by whether or not Republican officials realize that their own survival as politicians depends not on sucking up to Trump, but by helping their constituents survive him.
Oh, boy.
Strong evidence.
Their constituents, who might those be? That is very ominous.
Weapons contractors, I think she's talking about, because they stand to lose a lot of money by this proxy war being shut down.
Yeah, the lizard people. She means the lizard people.
Supporting all of those strikes against Trump so far, frankly. But this is one other thing to watch. If we really are now abandoning the free world and lining up instead with the world's dictatorships, and Trump is unwilling.
Breaking news, Kurt. We're aligning with dictatorships for the first time. We're abandoning the free world.
China has freer speech than all of Europe. Just so everybody knows, the bad season. I went there. You could literally talk about absolutely anything. They were like, to whatever you want, just don't talk about the Chinese government. And I didn't know anything about it, so that was like, fine. In Germany, you can't. I can't even believe what they're doing. I don't even know what the racist cartoon the person spread, because it won't show you what they even did to kick their door in and take all their stuff.
In Canada right now, my friend Eve Engler, who I grew up with, he is spending the weekend in jail because he criticized a Israel supporter on social media, called her a genocide supporter and a fascist. So he was told he was going to be charged with harassment. And then when he announced that on Twitter, the Montreal police added a new charge, which is that he was inciting against the Montreal police. So he's spending the weekend in prison for criticizing an Israel supporter and then announcing that he was going to be charged with criticizing that Israel supporter. That's the state of free speech right now and freedom in the free world.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have more on this, I think, on Monday, but it's a crazy story. But Rachel Maddow wants to pretend as if because we're bringing peace to Ukraine, we're abandoning the free world. We've never aligned with dictators ever, forgetting all the dictators that the U.S. supports and is propped up.
Currently, right this second.
Yeah.
We just put Al Qaeda in charge of Syria.
To even explain why. Just watch. The American people are going to have some feelings about that too. Just watch.
Just watch, Kurt.
I mean, I have great feelings about it. I like there being all doom and gloom about it, so that when the war ends, it hurts them more. I want them to hurt more for that. That's one of the most vile things I've ever seen just unfold over because, I guess right when I started working for Jimmy's shows, we started following that.
Yeah.
And so right away, they're not going to win. So all these people just died for nothing, just for nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Just to make people like Rachel Maddow and Chris Murphy feel good about themselves because they were also helping to kill some Russians. That's what it comes down to. Of course, at the cost foremost to Ukraine, which has lost so much of its territory and lost so many of its people. And that can never be repaired.
Well, Lindsey Graham's tummy is all full of blood, so now he's ready for those minerals. I just want those minerals. A lot of rare ones.
Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.